Hi, Terry Michael here, the Bible lady, the one under the hat. Yes. And I'm wearing the hat because we're honoring our mothers on Mother's Day. We did this at our Redeemers group at Encounter Church, and it was so much fun. And whether our mothers are not here with us any longer or they're still here, we're honoring them by wearing a hat. Hats on for mom. And men, you can wear a hat, just don't make it look like this one. Okay. So we're going to talk today about salt and carrying the cross. It's Easter season, and you say, no, it's not. Easter was 2 weeks ago. Well, Jesus was here for 40 days after he was resurrected. So it's still Easter season. So we're going to look at Luke 14:26, where he says, first of all, there was a large crowd encircling him, a large one. Wasn't talking just to the 12 disciples or apostles. And he said, if anyone comes to me and does not hate his own father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters, yes, and even his own life, he cannot be my disciple. And he meant that hating them in the sense of not preferring them or making them first. He meant the hating their own life in the sense of indifference to or relative disregard for them in comparison with their attitude toward God. In other words, the first commandment, love the Lord your God with all your heart. So he said, if we don't do that, we cannot be his disciple. So how did he do this? How did Jesus? Because he was our example. Well, remember when he was in the Gethsemane, in the garden, he was willing to endure whatever would come. And this is what carrying your cross means, enduring whatever will come. And he did it by hating in the sense of not giving first preference to his own life. So those two things, not preferring others above God and being willing to endure whatever may come, is taking up our cross. But what about the salt? Well, Jesus ends with verse 34. He told us about counting the cost in between those two verses, in between 26 and 34. He talked about counting the cost where men would build and they would count to see what it would cost them, where kings would go to war and they would see whether or not they could win the war. So looking at the situations. And in verse 34, he says, therefore salt is good, but if salt has become tasteless, with what will it be seasoned? It is neither fit for the soil nor for the manure pile. It is thrown away. He who has ears to hear, let him hear, and heed my words. Well, there's an expression, to be worth one salt. What it meant was you were competent and deserved what you earned. It had its roots in ancient Rome, where soldiers were paid with salt, or they were given an allowance to purchase salt. Salt is very important in the Old Testament and the New Testament. It was a necessity of life, a mineral that was used since ancient times. In various contexts, it was used metaphorically to signify permanence, loyalty, durability, fidelity, usefulness, value, and purification. So Jesus called attention to this statement. Hello, this is an important statement. He said, he who has ears to hear, let him hear and heed my words. You don't want to not pay attention. You don't want to do that. We need to keep our saltiness. We need to keep our worth. We need to carry our cross. We need to prefer God above all else and endure whatever may come. And some of us have to endure more than others. It's true. And it's not a defeat to submit. It is victory. It's a victory to submit. And it keeps your worth. Walk in your saltiness. So we have 2 more weeks before we recognize Jesus' ascension to heaven. And next time, I want to look at the famous fishermen and their encounter with Jesus on the shores of Galilee. The place is marked as St. Peter's Primacy. It's located in Tabgha, Israel, and we were there in February. It's an absolutely wonderful place. If Israel is wonderful, and if you ever get a chance, go. When we were there, we sensed the presence of the Lord in many of the places that we visited. It was awesome. Till next time, I will see you. Carry your cross and remember you are worth your salt.